Let's kick off with Wall Street's performance on Wednesday following Donald Trump's speech at the World Economic Forum in Davos. So do we have a tackle trade after the reversal of tariffs on Europe? Yes, Maria Bird.
The U.S. stock market spiked on Wednesday as the U.S. president spoke before world leaders at the World Economic Forum, providing insight into the U.S. economy, stating that the U.S. is strong and that it's showing great signs of growth. After the meeting, the president also met with NATO secretary and clearly outlined his interest in Greenland. There was a framework developed that he announced on Truth Social as he's hopeful that this could be the beginning of the U.S. having great interest in Greenland. The U.S. economy, though, is showing some signs of upward ticking as the Dow Jones was up at 1.21%. The S&P 500 showed growth at 1.16%, and the heavy tech Nasdaq was up at 1.18%. As many investors are continuing to watch what will happen over the next few days and weeks ahead.
Thank you, Maria. We'll continue to watch. And stocks now in Europe are opening higher after U.S. President Donald Trump announced a framework deal on Greenland and said it would no longer impose higher tariffs on European allies. Markets are seen kicking off today higher. Trump said the deal could involve defense cooperation and access to Greenland's mineral resources. And the European Union has, however, frozen approval of its trade deal with the United States after concerns over President Donald Trump's threats to seize Greenland. The European Parliament's Trade Committee has postponed the ratification vote indefinitely, raising fresh doubts about the future of the agreement. And the move underscores growing political tension between Brussels and Washington despite earlier progress on the trade pact. Meanwhile, President Donald Trump says a framework agreement reached with NATO on Greenland includes access to mineral rights for the U.S. and its European allies, alongside cooperation on the Golden Dome missile defense system. Now, speaking at the World Economic Forum in Davos, Trump ruled out using force to acquire Greenland and said talks on the island's status should begin immediately, adding that the deal would last forever and would also ease tariff tensions with Europe. Now, Greenland holds some of the world's largest rare earth reserves, a key focus of Trump's strategy to cut U.S. reliance on China, though the proposal has sparked concern about potential strains within the NATO alliance. Now, UK government borrowing fell more than forecast in December, offering some relief to Chancellor Rachel Reeves as she works to rein in public finances. Now, the budget deficit stood at £11.6 billion, £7.1 billion lower than a year earlier and well below economists' expectations of £13 billion. Now, the Office for National Statistics also revised November's borrowing down by nearly £1 billion, for further improving the fiscal outlook of the country. Now, South Korea's economy slowed more than expected in the fourth quarter, growing 1.5% year-on-year, below forecast of 1.9% as weakness in construction and exports offset modest consumer spending. On a quarterly basis, GDP contracted 0.3%, the sharpest slowdown since late 2022. Now, construction investment fell 3.9%, exports dropped 2.1%, and manufacturing output weakened despite small gains in private consumption and government spending. For 2025, the economy grew just 1%, the slowest pace since the pandemic, with fresh uncertainty from renewed U.S. tariff threats on AI chips, even as semiconductor exports remained a key bright spot. Japan's export growth slowed to 5.1% in December, below expectations as shipments to the U.S. plunged 11.1% despite stronger demand from Asia. Exports to China rose 5.6%, while shipments to Hong Kong surged 31.1%, and exports to the wider Asian region climbed 10.2%, helping to offset weakness in the U.S. market. Now, for 2025, exports grew 3.1%, down from 6.2% in 2024, with analysts warning that U.S. tariffs, rising competition, and fresh trade tensions with China pose growing risk to Japan's export outlook. Up next, Malaysia's central bank has kept interest rates unchanged, citing a resilient economy and stronger than expected growth despite global tariff risk. Bank Negara Malaysia held the overnight policy rate at 2.75%, a move widely expected by economists, saying the current policy stance remains supportive of economic activity. Now, inflation has stayed muted, allowing the central bank to maintain its cautious approach after cutting rates only once in the past 5 years. Now, OpenAI is in talks with Middle East sovereign wealth funds as it seeks fresh investment for a multi-billion-dollar funding round expected to total about $50 billion, according to sources. Now, CEO Sam Altman is in the United Arab Emirates for the discussions, with the funding round expected to close in the first quarter, though terms are yet to be finalized. The AI firm behind ChatGPT has seen rapid growth and soaring valuations after closing a $40 billion funding round last year and lifting its valuation to $500 billion following a major share sale. And that's the global news brief today.